Yo, what's up, guys? Another failed deal for AC Milan at the striker position. Jean-Philippe Mateta will not be joining AC Milan, guys, after extensive medical checks by Milan's doctors, guys, and have found a serious knee issue for Jean Mateta. Milan had agreed a 3.5 million euro per year contract, guys, for Mateta salary-wise, signing a 5-year deal, guys. Would have signed for over 35 million euros, but the deal collapses because Mateta has opted to go for knee surgery that will keep him out for 3 to 4 months. And obviously, Milan's management cannot afford to spend this kind of money right now on a player that we need to be on the field, and risking another injured player is just something Milan cannot afford right now, guys, and it's obviously very frustrating as a Milan fan, for Milan's management to go in and get a striker this late in the window, not knowing the player's health and where he stands with his other club, of course, health-wise and everything else. And then Crystal Palace on top of it all, thinking that they're slick and smart, trying to sell him for 35 million euros, thinking he could play through the injury because they had another player on their team, Munoz, who had been playing through a similar injury for the last 4 to 5 weeks. But it is very evident that Mateta's knee is not in good health right now. Of course, the doctor said that he is unable to play, and it's deja vu all over again, guys. Now, obviously, I'm not comparing Mateta to Boniface. Boniface had a similar situation in Milan, and the medical team went through a medical, wanted to do extra checkups because they felt that there was going to be something wrong with the player's health and injury history, of course. And as we saw with Boniface, his knee was completely ruined. He's not playing now currently. He's having knee surgery as well. So Milan had considerably worrying signs again with Mateta, checking out his knee and seeing that it's going to be a long period on the sidelines. Now, once again, this is the incompetence of Milan's management. You could spend 35 million on a striker in Mateta when you already have, obviously, Nkunku, who's obviously not very durable as of late and as of years past. Leao, who hasn't been healthy this year. Pulisic hasn't been healthy. Obviously, Santi Jimenez has been out the last couple months with an injury, of course, recovering from surgery. Then we obviously signed Nicholas Füllkrug on loan, who's obviously got a broken toe, who's been dealing with that as of late, but has been doing some really good things on the field as a substitute. But to add another guy, that would have been their 6th striker. He could have been injured as well after a couple weeks if we had signed him without doing these extensive checks. It would have been a bloody disaster for Milan's management. But what bothers me more than anything is that why would you drop 35 million on a striker when we already have 5 guys there, even though I know they got injury problems? We needed another center back. You got a guy like Mario Gila at Lazio that you could get for 20 million euros. Obviously, Gila's contract, I think, ends at the end of the season, guys. So you can get him for free, of course, but then you have to deal with all the other teams coming in with a better salary for him. So it would be a real issue. Now, if you offer Lazio 20 million, sure, you have to give 10 million to Real Madrid because they still own a percentage of his rights. Now, regardless of that, though, it's the narrow-minded vision of this management where they say to themselves, oh, let's go get another striker because these other guys can't stay healthy, whereas we're very thin at the center back position. And Milan's weakest position is at center back, I feel. And to add a guy like Gila for 20 million, a guy in the prime of his career, would have been a great decision for the club. But once again, this management do things wrong. They're short-sighted. They're slow. How do you not know that Mateta had this injury? He had been dealing with this injury for a couple months. His form wasn't as good as it was last year. Obviously, I know Eze left Crystal Palace to go to Arsenal. They lost a bunch of good players. Zaha went to MLS, so they're not as good, Crystal Palace. But still, Mateta was not playing the way he was last season. Crystal Palace won the bloody Community Shield and FA Cup, I'm pretty sure. So Crystal Palace, had a great year last year. Mateta was solid. But this year, his form dipped and everything else. And this management say to themselves with a week or 2 left in the window, let's go get this guy. Like honestly, seriously, this management sometimes just blows my bloody mind with certain purchases. You know, you spent 35 million on Santi last January. That move hasn't worked out. Now you spend another 35 million. You were going to spend another 35 million on this guy here. It makes no sense to me. You got to go and get a guaranteed surefire number 9. Like, this management just always waits till a deal is placed perfectly on their terms, you know, how they want to handle the deal. They will never do something on another team's terms. If a team comes, if they go to a team, and we've seen this before many, many times, you know, where a team will say, we want 40 million for this guy, like Arden Jashari, perfect example. You know, Brugge says 40 million. Milan says, no, 35. Then Brugge says, no, 40. It's a back and forth until Brugge says, okay, fine, we'll bend and let you get the kid for 35. Like, it's incredible to me how this management can't just say, there you go, here's your money, and that's it, you know? And I'm not saying that for Mateta, but just in purchases in general that we've seen with this club that drives me bloody nuts. You know, you got a young player, I mean, even an example, like Moise Kean at Fiorentina, prime of his career, had great numbers last year, has been in really good form the last couple years. Milan's management know that they'll get a guaranteed goal scorer, a guy who has experience at Serie A, and all they have to do is fork over the money. But because it's too expensive or it's not on their terms, they don't want any part of it. Just an example per se. I'm not saying they're going after Moise Kean, even though he's the guy now that I think Milan's management should 100% be going for in this summer's transfer window. He is the best and most viable option for Milan to strengthen their attack next summer. Now, if you sell an Nkunku or a Jimenez in the summer, he's the guy I would go and get. Mateta's deal collapsing, I'm not even that upset about it because I want Milan's management to spend that money on Moise Kean. Now, what bothers me is how it's February bloody 2nd, and we wait till the final day to get this man in. You know, this is the incompetence of Milan's management. You know, jackasses like Giorgio Furlani, you know, making deals for guys like Axel Diasis that we don't even want in this team. That's a downgrade. You know, a player that will not improve this club right now. You know, just another example that where certain people do not belong in the world of football. Or culture. It doesn't matter. Giorgio Furlani, if this man ever leaves, it's like another Scudetti for us Milan fans. You know, it's incredible to me how short-sighted these people operate, how last minute they are, how things always have to be in their favor all the time. You know, the Mateta deal is just another example how this management is always a step behind and not always thinking ahead. Milan's doctors bailed them out again, even though Milan's management was hesitant to spend the money. They waited way too long to dip into the market to get another guy. They take forever to get a deal done. Like another example, Marcus Thuram going to Inter for $1 million more. You know, because Furlani had to negotiate a month to save €1 million. Like, it's just another example, guys, where this management fails. Now, we've obviously signed another young player and this Alfonso Cisse kid who's going to go to Catanazzo for the rest of the year. Milan signed him for €7.5 million or €8 million for 1.5 million on add-ons on top of it. So that's a nice young player you add. You know, you obviously got Magnan extended. You got Fulkrug in, you're on a loan. He's going to be a good addition, I feel, for this team, guys. You know, but Milan, do not add another center back where I felt they needed to add. You know, obviously you don't get another striker. Leao, obviously, isn't 100% right now, guys. Pulisic's dealing with bursitis. It's an absolutely frustrating situation that we play once a bloody week. We've got so many injuries up top right now. You know, it's incredible to me how many injuries this team has playing for once a week, guys. But listen, unfortunate situation that we couldn't get Mateta in, but it's a benefit that we have dodged another bullet here. Of course, we dodged the bullet with Boniface in the summer window. Now we've dodged another bullet with Mateta. He's going to opt for surgery now out the next 3 to 4 months. He's Crystal Palace's problem now to the end of the year. The deal will not happen either in June, obviously in the future at all, guys. An unfortunate situation for AC Milan. This is who their team is going to be till the end of the season, guys. Let's hope to God that Milan can get healthy. Hopefully Inter can drop a few points. Milan are only 5 points back of the title. They got to hope to God that Inter can drop some points and they can stay healthy and continue to accumulate points. But With Leao and Pulisic obviously not being 100% this year, it makes things a lot more difficult, guys. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this deal not happening for Jean-Philippe Mateta to Milan. A deal that, glad it didn't happen due to the injury, of course, but really unfortunate situation that Milan could not get a real number 9 into the team, guys. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, though, guys. So like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Forza Milan sempre, as always, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Rock Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.